Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience as we ran through some technical glitches, as you always do. Doesn't matter how many times we test it, but we're here. So sorry we're a few minutes late. Thank you for joining us. And welcome to another year of the Icon Awards. We're here doing a live Q&A session today. We are now the competition is officially live, just started a week ago. So we're ready for your entries, and we'll be doing these live chats for the next few weeks just to answer all of your questions, give you a rundown of what to expect, what's happening. We'll have a general topic that we have in mind to talk about every single week. And knowing that all of the questions that you have on any topic we'll be answering. It's just a great way to come together live, get immediate gratification for any questions that you have so that we can help you on the spot. So every Monday at this time, we'll be coming to you live. And today our goal is to just chat with you about an overview of the competition. So whether this is the first time you're entering the competition, the Icon Awards, or if it's not the first time, we'll go over things like deadlines, what you can expect over the next few months, how the process works, and what you can look for and costs and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you're joining us on YouTube, which you are, jump in the chat, let us know what your questions are, and we'll answer every single one of them before we go off the air. So please feel free to tune in. I know some people are already saying hi, say hello. I'll be monitoring those and answering all of your questions. So please jump in. Don't be shy. That's what we're here for. That's why we're doing these things.
Yeah, and let us know where you're from. We'd love to see our international audience and presence and sort of see where you guys are at. Hopefully it's not too late or too early in your part of the world. At the very least, obviously you're going to watch a rerun, which you're probably doing right now. So the idea is that we give you a reintroduction or an introduction for the very first time for the Icon Awards. And we're going to share the information as if you don't know anything. Because sometimes you may understand several things, but if you miss one or two, three key pieces of the information, it might mean the difference between you entering things correctly or not, or things like that. So today's very much an overview of the process, and I can't believe we're here already. It feels like we had the live award ceremony only a few months ago, which I think it was actually, but I don't know, just everything has just come full circle.
Where has this year gone?
Yeah. So this is our second International Icon Photography Awards. And obviously we carried on the torch from WPPI. For those of you who don't know what that basically means, is a couple of years ago, WPPI, just for many reasons, decided to sort of end their awards that had a 40-year history of the awards. And it's done so much for me personally, so much for the community, and we wanted to carry on the torch. So the Icon Awards was officially born last year. We are completely autonomous, which means we can make the decisions, make a difference. And if we can improve things any certain way, we take the community's advice, we mash it in all together. We often are always rejigging things, much to the fact that it's actually a little bit more difficult in the process to change things. But because we have the ability to do it, we will do it if it actually suits the wider audience, as long as we keep everyone on a fair and level playing field, and the cream rises to the top, and we make this a very safe place and a way that you can grow in the industry. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the basics, because that changes every year. Things like dates and deadlines and costs and that kind of thing. So as I mentioned, the competition, we start with the digital competition. So this first part of the competition is digital only. You don't need to send any prints in, and you enter online, and that's what the judges look at. That has already opened. That started on August 1st, and then you have until October 1st to get those entries in. You would enter at iconawards.com. You'll see all the buttons to enter there, and you'll be able to walk through the process, and we'll walk through that as well.
Sure.
You have until October 1st. That's the deadline. As soon as October 1st is done, that's it. You won't be able to enter any other images or change any of your entries. That'll be it. The thing that we're doing a little bit differently this year is we're having an early bird special. So between now and September 1st, there is a reduced cost if you want to get your entries in now. If you can do that, that'll be great for you. You save $10 on every single image. And it's great for us because otherwise everyone waits until the very last week and then uploads all of their entries. And because I'm the one that is vetting all the images and going through all of them, it just makes my life a lot harder.
Well, yeah, and Melissa's being kind right now because last year we said, you know what, let's just simplify the whole process. And WPPI did have early bird specials and things like that. So we're like, oh, let's just get rid of it. It's this price.
Keep it
It's
simple.
predictable, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we didn't know we had a competition until about a week before, as
You,
Melissa implied.
like we don't have enough entries. It's not happening.
So let alone the images have to be vetted and have to be organized, questions have to be answered. So I'll be honest with you, we do not want to make more money from you. So enter, and you must not only enter and upload your images, but you must pay for the images by the end of this month to have that early bird price. The minute it goes over that area, is you've got to pay more, and don't pay more. You save your money, enter now. And look, if you're anything like me, when I used to enter competition, I would often enter last minute. And if the time is more important to you and money is less important to you, have at it. No problem. You're going to have more of the time. But you know what? Upload your entries, pay for them, and you'll save $10 per entry. And also, don't forget. Well, actually, I was gonna say some other things, but that'll open up the whole scope to other comments and questions. I just had a whole conversation in my head that you were privy to right now.
Yeah. Which none of us understood. But as long as it made sense to you, it's fine.
So let's re-explain the process, because there's many things that people actually think are going to happen or based upon previous years and how it happens. So the digital competition, for you to be in this Icon Awards cycle, let's call it, you must enter the digital competition. From the digital competition, your top 4 scoring entries will contribute towards your Honors of Excellence accreditation points. Okay, so some people think they can bypass the digital competition and just enter print. Now, of course, when WPPI was print, yes, it was digital and print, you could enter them independently, but that's not the case. So for the longevity and the feasibility of the competition and to account for growth in the future, the top 10 scoring entries of each category get invited, they're not mandatory, invited to enter the print competition. And that, of course, is done live at WPPI, which of course will happen in March of 2025. And then from there, we'll choose first, second, third, and grand awards. But from your digital competition, there's many things that happen. You are eligible to get a silver award, silver distinction, gold distinction, and platinum. Okay. And obviously they all have different point values. 80 to 84 is 1 point. 85 to 89 is 1.5 points. 90 to 94 is 2 points. 95 to 99 is 2.5 points. Platinum 100 is a fluke. No, that is 3 points. And they contribute to Honors of Excellence points. So the top 4 go into it. Now, strategically, you might just say, okay, well, 4. All right, I'll just enter 4 images. But based upon the strength of those images, a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing. When I used to enter, if I want to not guarantee, but give myself every chance that 4 images will actually contribute points, I'm not going to do 4. I'm going to upload maybe 10 or 12 or something like that. If you can only afford 1 or 3 or 4, that's no problem. Think of it like a commitment to your season, a commitment to your accreditation. And as we've discussed many times, the accreditation system, the Honors of Excellence that we created at WPPI, and we, of course, grandfathered into our own ecosystem of the Icon Awards, that's a really important one. And it means so much to people to contribute to those points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a reminder, you must enter the digital competition, get your work in there. And then from that is how we determine who will be able to enter the print competition at the end of the year. So a lot of people missed out last year, as you mentioned, because they're used to it not being like that. That was a bit of a change once the Icon Awards started. So this is the time to get those entries in so that we can then work out what the top 10 scoring entries are of each category. And that will be what we see at the convention next year. So make sure you get those entries in. You have about 2 months. Yeah.
And so what you get also from there, so if you get a silver or an above, you will get a digital downloadable certificate to celebrate your images at one. So, and then you'll have digital emblems that you can actually also put on social media, on your website, everything like that. And
if you didn't know that, like that also happened last year. So if you didn't know that you get those digital certificates and digital emblems, go into your dashboard now and you can see them and you can download them and use them on your website or wherever you want to do, but they're already there.
And you also automatically get published in the Icon Awards book, which we now have handy. Finally, it's right there. Not handy, but within one little walk and step over Zoe is our golden doodle lying down there as well. So do you want to open up and do your Price is Right thing?
This is the Icon Awards book. Every image that scores over an 80 in the digital competition gets in this book. Look at how thick it is. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. That was one of the images that was entered last year. And so when you open it up, you can see like it's absolutely incredible. I'm hoping that it's focused, but it's just beautiful. And it's just such a beautiful legacy piece. And anyone can purchase it. So in the comments, I'll put a link. We still have some available from this past year. So it's an incredibly inspiring piece of work in an art book, and we keep it on our coffee table and it's awesome. And then we just look through it all the time and it's just beautiful. And so you can order that now. I'll put that link in there, but that's a great thing to know for yourself. If you score silver above, you're going to end up being in the next one, which is pretty special. And it's your name and your designation and all of that's in there. So it's pretty awesome. So great thing to strive for sure.
And a huge thanks to Dario Rigetto of Love Edits for designing this with me and doing all the hard work putting it together.
Hours
and Graphy Studio for producing it as well. But it is a beautiful book. I remember when I was in the Australian version of our awards in books, I've still got the books to today. And I proudly, every so often, will go there and have a look at where I am published, and it's pretty special. So, but like I said, they're on sale. We have limited stock of the current batch.
Right.
Once that stock goes, then we have to sort of wait for a new round, which would be a pain. It'd be fun to actually be able to look at this and absorb it and breathe it in and inhale it. Yes, you can see them on the website, but there's nothing like touching and feel it, because we want to celebrate print, not only with the finalists printing their work and the gallery that's at WPPI trade show floor, but the physical book. So check that out as well. So like I said, lots of things are determined by the digital competition. So awards, emblems, certificates, possibly being a finalist and being eligible for first, second, third, and grand, also being in the physical book, and you're also in the gallery. And the gallery is amazing. We'll go through that in a moment. But yeah, go on.
Don't forget to ask questions too, guys, in the chat. If you think of anything along the way, I'll be jumping in and answering them as we go, as we do this. But in the meantime, we'll just keep doing what we do.
So don't forget to read the rules, guys. I know that many of you may enter different competitions around the world. Don't assume that some categories that are similar sounding or similar topic names, everything have the same rules. What we've done over literally the last decade, when we reinvented the categories and competition at WPPI, that now that, of course, we're within the Icon ecosystem now, there are categories that are for the purists. And when I say purists, if you want to enter a raw file because you got it right in camera, there's the in-camera artistry category. There's a wedding in-camera artistry category and a non-wedding, as in open category. So if you know that you want to compete with people who are similar, like-minded, and have got the same degree of difficulty, fantastic. There's also 5 divisions. So I've just mentioned one of them. One of the divisions is the in-camera artistry division, where there's the raw file being uploaded. The other 4 divisions, basically, we have wedding, pre-wedding, we have portrait, and creative. Of these 3 divisions, wedding, pre-wedding, and portrait, we call this a single image capture division. In other words, you can't use more than one image to create your photograph. Now, yes, there's exceptions to, and we'll discuss this perhaps more next week when we just talk about the rules and things like that. But if you have an assistant holding a light stand for an off-camera flash, no problem, you can replace that, and we'll allow that in the wedding division and the portrait division and the pre-wedding division. For safety concerns, and if you're photographing a newborn and you have an assistant holding the baby's face, then yes, that can be replaced. At the end of the day, no matter what rules there are, whether you agree or disagree with every decision that we've actually made on the community's behalf, you're all on a fair and level playing field. So just know that if you ever get questioned in terms of an integrity check that Melissa will do and vetting, just know that we do that often. And when you upload an image, certainly with all the talk about AI and all that stuff in the last couple of years, we do allow AI only for corrective purposes. So if you need AI as a shortcut to get rid of something or do something or whatever, that's totally fine. But when you use AI to create your entire image or entry, or introduce a new object or subject that didn't exist in the first place, that will not be allowed in this competition. We want to promote photography. Okay, so you are the artist and you are creating the work. Yes, there's divisions like the creative division that allows you more freedom in post-production to pretty much do whatever you like, as long as it doesn't include stock photography or stock art or anything generated by AI. So all the elements you have to photograph. So when you upload your images, you need to send us a raw file or at the very minimum, an unprocessed JPEG of that image, and then your finished image. And even for the creative divisions, if you've got 10 images that you've used to create a final piece, you've got to send us those 10 images so that we can verify, and with absolute authority and integrity, we can say everyone had the same rules and this one and this cream rise at the top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So just so you know, what happens once you submit? Well, first of all, I mean, I want to do a bit of a section where I share the screen and bring attention to a few different things that you'll be looking at. So whether you're a first-time entrant or whether you've done it before, and give you a bit of a refresher. But once you enter and things have been vetted and everything's ready to rock, your images will be actually scored anonymously. So 5 judges will not know who the photographers are, and 5 judges will judge your images. And then we'll average that score, and a score will be determined. Now, can one judge or even 2 judges adversely or in a good way manipulate the score? Now, even though that obviously we choose very credible judges and there's no bias or anything like that, and we train the judges, if one person or even 2, let's say, for example, I'm a judge and I've been asked by the Icon Awards to judge a single image or a whole category. First of all, a judge who is also entering can't judge their own category that they're in, right? Okay, that's 100% right. So now, beyond that, if you, let's say, you know what, Jerry's entering the competition. I'm not supposed to know whose it is, but he's my mate, he's my best friend. I'm just going to make this a 95 because I can. Even though that the average score will go up, 3 judges have to be within a scoring range to actually, for an image to get a particular score. So I mean, the math is not going to be perfect here, but let's say someone gives this an 81, an 82, an 83, and then we have an 89 and a 99. And let's say the average is, say, 87, but 3 judges gave it within the 80 to 84 range, it will get the top end of that scoring range. It would be an 84, and we call that a majority fall. Yeah. Okay.
So it's it may sound confusing when you're hearing it. Best way to go do this is go to our website and you can look at the rules. And when you click on the general rules, look for a majority rise, majority fall, where we list it out very detailed. It's a mathematical calculation so that, as Jerry said, one judge cannot manipulate the score, either good or bad.
Even 2, yeah.
Or even 2 judges cannot manipulate the score, either good or bad. It's just a sort of fail safe. Not that this was ever a problem, but it's just another fail safe in case that situation ever arose. As an entrant, you can be sure that you're giving the best, most fair chance possible for these judges who are choosing your score, the scores for your image.
And specifically, that verbiage is actually on the iconawards.com page. Go to About and click on Judges and Judging Process. So that's to be very specific as to where it is if you want to read more about it. And that's been a long-standing rule in Australia. We adopted that from Australia, which worked incredibly well. And we've seen it in action. It's been fantastic. So now, why do we only allow the top 4 scoring entries of each particular entrant per year? Maybe you want to discuss a bit about that.
Yeah. So, some competitions will allow you to enter 50 images, and then you can get points for all 50 images that you enter. We do that for a couple of reasons. We only let you get points from the top 4 scores because we want this to be a good gauge of longevity. We want photographers to always improve their craft and their skills over a long period of time. You could have like a killer year with killer subjects and clients and models where everything was just working just perfectly. And you just have a whole bunch of images and you could enter all 100 of them that you love. And then you suddenly get your grand master like in 1 year. Whereas doing it this way, where we only count your top 4 scores, it encourages you to keep that level of consistency and skill over a longer period of time. Because as professionals, we always need to improve ourselves and change. You know, what you were, if you've been a photographer for 10 years or you've been a photographer for 20 years, you're not doing the same thing that you did do 20 years ago. Or else you may not be as successful if you didn't change with over the years. So we're encouraging photographers to continually improve themselves and change. And so that's why it takes a long time. We worked it out to get your master's. It can take over 7 years for photographers at a minimum to get that. Many take a lot longer than that. It's a process and it encourages consistency and longevity. The other side to that is that we also, because we want to make sure that everyone is on a level playing field as possible. We don't want to give someone an advantage who perhaps has more financial means than someone else. Entering competition can be expensive. Let's say, like, for example, $25 an image, that adds up. If you're entering 50 images, you may have the financial means to do that, and that's great. But you shouldn't be able to essentially buy your designation because you have more financial means than somebody who can only afford to enter 2 or 3 images in a year. So by doing it this way, we're keeping it all, and that has happened. We have had situations where someone has, wanted to enter as many as possible to try to get their designation as fast as possible. But there's an equally talented and skilled photographer who just isn't able to or is not willing to spend that amount of money on competition every year. That doesn't mean that they're not as good a photographer. This way, we're just looking at your top 4 scores for everyone. So you can enter as many as you want. And as Jerry said before, that may improve your chances of having 4 that score over an 80, but it's up to you and you don't have to do that, if that makes sense. Want to give a quick shout out. There's so many great people who have said hello, which is awesome. Seeing from LA and Toronto. Dory, we were just talking about you actually a few minutes ago. So just wanted to say hi. Dory is also in the book. He has a few images in the book actually, entered in the wedding and pre-wedding categories, which is awesome. There's one, my favorite, which I still remember and I'll never forget it, Dory, where you have a couple from overhead and they're in a boat. Amazing. It's like when you remember images from the competition, that's pretty awesome. And it happens every year. But Jory said that his wife is entering for the first time this year.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah,
Katie's
amazing.
watching, so I'm very excited, Katie.
She is going to kick your ass. Yeah. I love it, guys. You know, the top 4 scoring entries sort of mandate that we've had that's been long proven. Think about it like you're a martial artist. Should you be able to get a black belt within a year? And again, everyone will do things a little bit different. We want to, like I said in another broadcast, as Bon Jovi said, every poet needs the pain. I've got to tell you, if this is something that you've worked towards over a number of years, someone like Cheryl Walsh, I just loved her speech. Loved her speech last year. Was it last year or the year before? No, the year before that.
Yeah.
But she presented one of our grand awards last year. That's what it made me in my head. But she said that she's been working so hard and so long to get her grand masters. And last year, she famously said, like, when I started in competition, I was just a mum with a minivan, and now I am a full-time artist in a Lexus.
You did.
The pride in which people have sort of said it's that slow burn that makes it more satisfying, that we're raising the bar. And in the spirit of the Olympics right now, when you see an Olympian not even win, but get their personal best, and as I've always said, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to win first, second, third, or grand. Just be better than last week. So the accreditation program is really to fulfill and satisfy that mandate.
Yeah.
And people say to us, well, why do you do this competition? Like, doesn't it take a lot of your time? Well, yeah, it does. And we could be doing other things that are more profitable, just pragmatically and a money perspective. But part of, if you know Melissa and I now, hard is that we love to give back, and we believe it. The community's been so good to us, and WPPI and the legacy of WPPI and everything that we see around us. There's been so many incredible organizations coming together to really bring this industry to the next level when it's actually quite tough in the industry at the moment. Then this is the platform, and we want you guys to shine, and just know that you're going to shine brighter and brighter every single year. And I'm going to tell you, there's sometimes when you think this image is going to not only get an 80 plus, it might be a contender to first, second, third, and then it doesn't. And it stings, but that's the driving force the following year. And there's some times where, like, I call it a throwaway entry. Oh yeah, whatever, and then you put it in, all of a sudden it gets a third place or even a first place. So yeah.
And as Jerry said, like, we're all cheering on each other on, as you can even see in the comments. Like, I remember, and Gary's here watching, Gary Martin, who also like volunteered tons of hours last year. Thank you so much, Gary. But also is in the book as well. So we're cheering each other on and each other's successes. It's not a competition where we're against each other. If you guys have a chance, go to our Instagram, the Icon Awards Instagram. Holly Lund shared a story, which then I reshared onto our Icon Awards Instagram story. And it's basically the scene from the Olympics where Simone Biles won silver, and the US got silver and bronze. And then the Brazilian gymnast won gold. And then there was a moment when the two US gymnasts were like just bowing down because she won gold and giving her props because she did it. And it was Holly drew the analogy, like, this is what it's like when you enter, at the Icon Awards, when everyone's winning, or you see somebody get an 80, or you see somebody in the book, we're just happy for each other. We're cheering each other on, and that's how we all grow. It's a fantastic community, and it's not because of us, it's because of everyone who's a part of it.
That's right.
And it's really, really special to see. So if you've not entered before, it is intimidating and it is scary, but I also want you to understand what a welcoming and how much camaraderie there is when we're all celebrating each other as we do well. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And strategically, well, not strategically, the losses, they give you that extra strength to keep on moving forward. I mean, let's talk about Simone Biles for a moment. Look at what happened like 4 years ago. And she's come back like stronger, and like the longevity that she's had as a gymnast. There's times where you pull back. It's just not for you. Great. She had that understanding, and I respect that so much, that the understanding. And then all of a sudden she's come back and just a lazy few golds and a bronze and a silver and all that kind of stuff. That's where it's exciting, guys, is, knowing to push forward, knowing to pull back, but understanding that a silver or a bronze or whatever the equivalent score is that you get, it's those ones that are not what you believe you wanted or deserved. They're going to drive you more. When it happens straight away, yeah, you feel it. I totally get that. But just know that any awards journey, the failure is built on the success is built on the foundation of so-called failure, which is not even a failure. You're entering. That means you're winning in our book already. Okay, so what happens? So when all the images are judged, okay, it's purely a score. Okay, there's no feedback right now. We didn't want to confuse the judges have to be in critique mode, and then the judges having to actually be in scoring mode. So it's a very different discipline and understanding. When you upload your entry, and then as you check out, as in you pay for your entries, you'll be given the option to buy a critique. Now, the critiques are cheaper if you let everyone watch it. Now, what does that mean? Well, over the years, critiques essentially have been someone like me, someone who's experienced in the industry, will go on there and I'll type up a critique. Now, you and I know that anything in the written form, like in social media and other platforms, your words and expression, even the way I'm talking right now, can't come across when you're actually verbally, when you're typing something up, let alone as a critiquer. For me to try to be less conversational, or it may be deemed as not professional or whatever, it's very tough to get those thoughts across. Imagine a platform, as in a critique platform, where you have an image, as in the expert of a particular genre has an image, and you can circle particular areas, point to different things, crop things a certain way. Can you imagine that, along with seeing the actual, the expert's face, the judge's face, being able to talk to you in video feedback form? How valuable would that be? Well, if you're new to us, this happened last year thanks to our good friends at critique.com, critique without the U and the E. So if you want critiques on demand, go to critique.com and you can get them way before the competition. If you want to get it in conjunction with the competition more affordably, then as you check out, you can click on the critique, which is public, and you go from there. Here's the cool thing. Your name will not be attached to the critique, but it'll be in a gallery for all to learn from. So on the website, and very soon I'll go through the website, on the website right now, there are over 400 video feedback critiques free.
I've just put the link in the chat box so you can take a look later on at all of the critiques from last year. So you can get an idea of this new format that Jerry's talking about.
And it's crazy valuable. So if you're entering a particular genre, or you're entering for the first time, or you're an absolute seasoned pro, go in there and you'll start to hear things over and over and over again. So you'll be sensitized either when you're photographing and or when you're retouching your images of what to look out for. Yeah. During the trade show at WPPI, and this will be no different than it'll be in 2025, we will be doing critiques for the 3 full days of the trade show days. So as a bonus, you go to the website, you click on critiques, and you'll see live video feedback of 2 or 3 experts on a particular panel talking about images. So what we're doing is we're creating a place where if you want to get critiqued, there's 2 ways of getting about it. One, you pay for the luxury. It's right there. It's very affordable. It's video feedback, first of its kind. Or we not randomly, we cherry pick, or I like to call it jerry pick, images with teachable moments of images that scored as 79 or under, and we critique those during WPPI. So now we have those benefits. Now, when we announce who scored the top 10 of each, the top 10 scoring images of each particular category, this is not mandatory. We then invite you to enter the finals, and that is in the form of print. You don't have to enter it, but obviously we strongly encourage you do, because not only will you be celebrated online, but you'll be celebrated in person with the prints in the gallery. You'll be celebrated. Hopefully you'll get a chance to win first, second, third, or grand award. And you're in that mix, and that judging is done over 2 days prior to the trade show and the main conference at WPPI. And we have a recording of that of last year. Now, the difference is that we're not there to critique the images. We flipped the script last year and we're maintaining it, and people loved it, and we heard your feedback. What we're doing is we're saying, what is great about these photographs? Why are they representing the category? How did they get to become a finalist? So rather than focusing our attention on critiquing, there's hundreds of images there for you to do that. Well, now we're saying, why are you there? Not what can be done well or better. Why did it actually get into that final? And you were a massive part of that process.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome that new format. And question that comes up quite often is if you enter something in the digital competition and then your image is one of the top 10 scoring images in that category, and then you're invited to come back to the print competition, can you rework your image, especially if you did get critiques and you got some feedback and you want to make some changes? And the answer to that is definitely yes. You are able to tweak and adjust your image. You can re-upload a new JPEG and then send me the printed version, which is what the judges will be looking at live at WPPI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this all culminates into WPPI, and we're very proud to be part of the family. Of course, WPPI. There's the Portrait Masters. There's obviously Icon Awards, and there's many offerings of the 2 days prior to the actual trade show as well, which is fantastic. Okay. So let's I think we just maybe share the website to sort of show everybody a few cool things.
Yep. So we'll do that now.
Let's do that now.
All right. And again, this is all on iconawards.com, so you guys can take a peek at that and you review this anytime you want, but we'll run through some things with you here.
So as soon as you go to the website, there's a few ways to get to the most important parts of the information on the website. So if you scroll down, pretty much most of the information is on that homepage as you scroll. So you'll see a bit of an overview here, a step-by-step overview of what we've just discussed verbally. What you can do, you can click on detailed overview. It's a bit more specific, certainly brings attention to some really cool inspirational pieces and things like that. And even like, well, why would I enter in the first place? I've got a great business. I make good money. Why even enter? This just gives you a bit of a summary as to why we believe it's actually really important. Divisions and categories. If you are of a certain discipline, know there's a home for you. And then as we get more entries into a category that allows for multiple genres within one genre, just know that we listen to the community by the number of entries. The numbers don't lie. So as we get more images in a quote unquote catch-all category, we expand them. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So we actually talked about like what's new for Icon Awards. There's not a hell of a lot new in the Icon Awards for this year. We're expanding on the momentum of last year, but we'll get to it in a moment. Perhaps I'll discuss the wedding and you can discuss the portrait.
Sure.
So with wedding division, you've got couple together wedding day, obviously on a real wedding day, bride or groom alone, wedding party, family and friends, and photojournalism. And this particular division allows limited post-processing, but basically post-production that beautifies, corrects, or finesses. Okay. Let's talk about this one.
And then in the portrait division, we actually have a new category this year. So we had so many entries in a particular category in children and teenagers that we've actually divided that this year. So we have basically from birth up. So we have maternity portraits, newborn and baby, children. It used to be children and teenager. Now it's children. And then there's another category for teenagers. So children is anyone from the age of 1 through 12.
Yep.
And then 13 to 19 is teenager. And then that's all for individual people. And then groups and families has more than one person in it. We have boudoir and fine art nude, animals and pets, and portrait narrative is sort of an editorial, non-wedding PJ type thing. So if you're photographing performances or concerts or sports or that kind of thing, that would all go into portrait narrative. It tells the story of something. And so as Jerry said, there's a home for everything. And, I always get questions, why are animals and pets together? Because you have wildlife and dogs in the same category. We've combined where we've needed to not eliminate categories completely. We're really dictated by what you guys enter. If there's, for example, with children and teenagers is a perfect example. That was combined for so long because from when we had portraits of the ages of 1 through 19, we had just enough to make a category. This year, it got so big that we divided it because there were that many entries. So when you guys enter images that belong to a certain genre and it becomes so big that we realize we can split it out. Let's say, for example, we got, 100 entries, 200 entries, whatever, that were just wildlife images. The good thing about it being just Jerry and I is that we can then split that out and do a wildlife category. But until that happens, then we combine them so that we have a home for it somewhere and it doesn't get taken out completely, if that makes sense.
And then what happens if the animals are in a zoo? We'll get to that if we have to. This is what happens in my brain all the time. All right, pre-wedding division. This is obviously for the pre-wedding genre that's been popularized over the last sort of 10, 15 years. Usually going to a different location, quite sort of spectacular, but you don't have the pressure of the wedding day, but it's wedding themed. So this is a real couple. Bride or groom alone, that's an individual person, but part of a couple that is a real couple that either will, again, are getting married or within 1 month of their wedding. And then you've just got models non-wedding day. Now, what does that mean? That's basically models who are not a real bride or groom or a couple, but they're in wedding clothing or stylized clothing consistent with that genre. Then you have the creative division. I think it's your favorite, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's definitely my favorite. Yeah. So these are images that give you way more freedom with post-production. So where you may have certain limitations in the wedding division and the portrait division, here, like the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. If you have composites, if you just want to do painting effects, whatever it is, you can go wild and crazy in these categories. So we divided them into genres. So wedding, so anything that is, perhaps a composited image, you can put it in wedding creative. Then you have pre-wedding as well. Those are for pre-wedding images. And portrait, we've added a new category. So we had originally, it was just portrait creative, and it was just basically all portraits. It was our largest category last year. So we've divided it up, and we looked at it as to a way that we could divide it, what made sense. And looking at all of the images that were entered, what was the what seemed a good way to divide them up. And we ended up doing portrait creative individual and portrait creative group. It seemed like that was a good split. And we're going to elaborate in future weeks as well about the different rules, what makes an image go into the creative division versus the non-creative division. But now we have portrait creative individual and portrait creative group, which is very exciting. And we also have fashion and beauty. And we have open creative. Open creative is a category for images that just don't have a heartbeat, is what we say. So you have architectural images, landscape images, really abstract, really cool abstract stuff, things that don't involve a person's or an animal's that has a heartbeat as the main focus of the image can go into open creative.
I think we also said that, if there is a human within that category, you can't see their expression. In other words, if you had a big landscape and you had a silhouette of a human and you couldn't identify the person or the expression, well, that's okay. As we start to get closer and the pose of the human is more animated and it's more expressive, well, now it becomes human. So think of it like context or scale is okay, but anything without a heartbeat is a great way of doing it. Then we've got what's close to my heart, the in-camera artistry division. Let me the good news is that for those purists out there, these categories exist and it's fantastic, and you don't have to worry about the post-production. It is a raw file. Now, just to be very, very clear, when you're entering an image that you have finessed, that you have done post-production on, whether it's part of a composite, whether it's just beautifying, correcting, or finessing a particular image, you might say, although I've worked this image, the shot out of camera is really, really cool. Got nothing to lose. I might as well enter it into in-camera artistry. That is the only time that you can enter the same image twice, when you're entering it in-camera artistry and also the other divisions as well. Now, we had the peak of the popularity of that particular those category in the division a couple of years ago. Now we're finding the numbers dwindling a little bit. We want to strongly encourage you, please support this. It would break our hearts if we just had to remove the categories from the competition. So,
I'll be brutally honest with you, where it's in danger of being removed. So if it doesn't get a lot of support this year, we'll just leave it up to you guys. It's really up to you guys. It is a intimidating category because you're only submitting a raw file, and that's what the judges are looking at. So yeah, it's obviously you're putting it all out there. You're not able to edit and retouch or anything. So, but if there's no interest in it, then we won't keep continuing it. So it is there for this year.
Yeah.
There's two categories in that division: wedding and open, which is anything not wedding related. And we'll just see how it goes. We'll see how many entries we have this year. Strategically, if you are interested in it and knowing that entries were a bit low last year, they may be low this year, maybe a good category to enter if you want to, so you want to get some finalists in there.
Well, and let me go even further. Guys, when I was very active at WPPI and I did pretty well, I would look at all the categories from the previous year. And then I said to myself, well, if I entered my lazy groom shot in the groom alone category, it would have been a lot better than that first, second, third. It wasn't arrogance. It was purely, I just didn't enter. So you got to be in it to win it. Yeah. So now, so I looked at the categories that weren't substantially entered strategically. I'm like, what have I got to lose? Boom, 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 boom. If I enter 10 categories and multiple images per category, again, based upon time and budget and finesse and whatever you guys like, then you just give yourself more chance. So like I said, the in-camera artistry one, it's such an easy one to enter because the raw file's already there anyway for the other image. You might as well play with it and enter it. So have a bit of fun with that.
Yeah. So just a couple of questions that have come in. I want to make sure I answer them before anyone hops off. Alicia's had some questions and comments about some critiques that she wasn't happy with last year. And I know I'm talking with you offline, Alicia, about that as well. But just to reconfirm, our judges, we have judges training every single year before they start scoring, then before they do their critiques, and before the competition the next year. And we're always tweaking that. It's not a proper judging school. Perhaps in the future we'll be able to do something like that, but we do go through training, and we're constantly, going over things and tweaking things and reviewing things with them to make sure that everyone is on the same thought process as we're looking at images and scores, and getting better when we need to. So definitely appreciate that feedback. And I know I'm talking to you offline as well about it, but it is always something that we are doing and reviewing and tweaking with our judges as we meet with them. We meet with them several times before they start scoring and before we do that. Adrian asked about underwater images. Totally depends, Adrian. That's a good question. It depends on what you're photographing. If it's underwater, like landscape underwater, or animals, like the Animals and Pets second place winner was a whale with plankton. So that was underwater. That one in Animals and Pets. It really depends on what you're photographing. If you're photographing like a person underwater in a pool kind of thing, if it's a single person, it can go in portrait individual, or if you're doing two people at one time, it can go in groups and families. We've had both underwater portraits in both of those categories. The thing to keep in mind is it depends on what you do afterwards. So if you're doing an underwater portrait, but then you're adding a lot of elements afterwards that didn't happen while you were there, then it might need to go into the portrait creative category, either individual or group. Here's the good thing. When you upload an image, we have a wizard, and it will ask you very specific
I think I'll show the
questions.
guys that one too, yeah.
And so we'll show that, we'll walk you through that, but it all within 3 to 4 questions at the most, it will suggest what category which your image should go into. And it's always right. You always have the option of changing it. But also, if you're not sure, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm not a judge. I will not score any images. I'm here to help you guys. I look at every single image that comes through, every single raw file. And so my job is to help you guys. So if you have a question like that, Adrian, if you wanted to send me that image and say, what category should this go in? Go through the wizard, or you can send me an image as well and I can help you. So always available for that. By the way, if you want to reach out to me, you can do that obviously through email, info@iconawards.com. But what you should know is on the website, in the bottom right-hand corner of every single page, there's a little chat box, and we're available all the time to answer your questions there. It's usually the quickest way to get an answer, which is great because you're right on the page and you're in the middle of working something anyways. So you'll almost always get an answer very, very quickly, unless for some reason it's in the middle of the night for me or something. Kevin's asked, he said he missed the first part of this presentation. Will it be available afterwards? For sure. We'll have it available on our Facebook page and also here on YouTube. So you'll see this whole video here on the YouTube page where you are. You'll be able to watch that anytime. So hopefully that helps too.
And also, guys, just in the spirit of the competition as well, it can be scary entering. Let's be honest. Like we're all mostly sensitive artists, and putting your heart on your sleeve and saying, "Hey, what do you think about my work?" Ultimately, someone scoring or someone critiquing you, you're asking for that feedback. Does it make 5 people right and you wrong, or whatever? It's think of it like this. We're supporting a platform and a stage to give you every chance to shine. If we actually, let's say, made things a little bit softer and awarded images that perhaps, shouldn't be, or at least at a particular time where 5 judges deemed it not so, then do you get better for that feedback or not? That is the question. And the critiques, obviously, there's going to be one person critiquing your image, which will be someone that we deem to be an expert in that particular field and or genre, and they're giving you a perspective. Now, certainly there's like maybe 100 things to actually tackle on a particular critique. And arguably, if that critique was not done exactly the way you would want it, then maybe the expectation is that you are after some particular kind of validation, or you may want something specific. My suggestion to you is, if you want a very, very, very specific critique based upon a certain individual, you can go to critique.com without the U and the E, or contact us personally, and/or we can guide you with a mentor that can actually work with you and be specific with you. But when you're doing anonymous critiques and judging, then it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. But just so you know, that what we do, the directive from us to the judges, is to look at the definitions and score it accordingly. In fact, that's probably a good segue to actually look at the website here too.
And that's something we're always tweaking and adjusting,
Yeah.
and we will over the years too, because just like how we said, the reason why we choose the top 4 scoring entries is because we want there to be longevity and want everyone to change. Things change over the years. Same goes with the competition. There will always be changes that happen, and tweaks and adjustments as times change, and as trends change and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's always a living, breathing thing that is constantly changing.
Absolutely. So if you go into the website, go to resources, click on the top one there. Love that image, hits me every time. Cassandra is just a master at what she does. 10 steps to an award-winning entry.
Yeah, this is what the judges are looking at when they're scoring your images. They have this in front of them, which is really helpful when you're trying to pick out your images.
So if you look at the overall, I mean, obviously impact, strong first impression, and so on and so forth. So have a look at that properly. I'm sure we'll probably do one of the live broadcasts focusing on this.
Yeah.
And we'll give you some examples on how they specifically relate. Now, if you go to scores and definitions, so you have to understand that when the judges are judging, be very transparent here. And I'm very proud of the console that we built. The console has the image that comes up, and then there's a bunch of numbers. It doesn't even relate to a specific category, as in it's not just some arbitrary thing that we do. It very much what the judges see. They're not seeing if it won an award or not or whatever. They're literally seeing only this text in front of them. So for example, if you look at the award range and above, usually the judges will look at this and say, well, first of all, it's this hurdle. Is this good saleable work consistent with standard professional practice? As in, is this a good saleable work? Is this what a professional should be doing within this genre in 2024? That's usually where they begin. Then, let's say if it doesn't equal that, then they'll look down. It requires improvement in technique. Just because other definitions of other organizations have different things does not mean it equates. We're our own entity, and the judges are looking at that particular verbiage. Okay. Above average skill and technique in most areas. So if you look at 80 to 84, a judge will then look at that and then move up accordingly, and so on. So I'll focus on this in a future broadcast where we actually get some judges on board and talk about the way of thinking and all that kind of stuff. But just know that this is not just, well, that's an 80, that's an 83. No. They look at the definitions and they'll put an image at the higher, middle, or the lower end of that range. And like I said, minimum of 3 people should be in that, well, must be in that range for you to score within this particular area.
It takes a bit more time for the judges,
That's right.
but we think it's worth it because it forces them to slow down and really look at what each definition is. And that it makes a huge difference.
It's interesting. If you've actually been privy to the live judging at WPPI before, and an image comes up and they look at it and they get a piece of paper, that's what they were looking at the whole time. So we've just made it easier, but we don't relate an award, like literally a silver award or an award, in that verbiage. Just look at the verbiage. Don't be influenced by what that point system is, and then go for it accordingly. Okay. Now let's look at critiques. The critiques that I mentioned to you,
Yeah, I've shared that link already
with
everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's all here. So just so you know that if you're after a particular category, you look at categories, click on the division, click on wedding, party, family, and friends, and you will see video feedback right here.
It's really helpful if you're looking at your entries that you're about to enter. It's really helpful to kind of go to that category and take a look at similar images and maybe what some of the feedback was on that. So you can then maybe tweak and adjust and before you actually submit it. It's super helpful.
So yeah, I love this stuff. And then I would always go back to the winners of WPPI. Obviously, that gallery no longer exists, but this is going to be at least in our human existence here. We want this to be live forever. Basically, you want inspiration. The grand award winners will come up straight away. You'll get to see what the original score was. So we don't rescore at WPPI. That's the original score. Now, don't forget too, you could score an 80 and be in the top 10 of a particular category
yeah.
and be a finalist.
Yeah. That's a big thing. Like, because that happened a lot last year. Like, a lot of people were surprised that they were finalists, and some people told me I'll never become a finalist because I, have never scored above an 84. Well, this past year, as Jerry said, we had a lot of images that were silvers that were finalists. So, this idea that you have to score gold or above in order to be even remotely considered to be a finalist is definitely not the case. It changes every year. It depends on, what you've entered and what the judges scored it. But we had lots and lots and lots of silvers that were finalists this year. So yeah, don't be discouraged and think that you'll never make that finalist, because that's definitely doable.
And last year, we also did the top equal scoring 10th as well.
Yeah.
Depending on how many entries we get overall and can we judge this over 2 days, we will most likely this year also do the equal 10th. If not, it'll be a mathematical decimal point equation. I'm just letting you know, to be transparent, that as we get more, that might change. But if we can, it'll be equal 10th. And as we said, that some 80s got in there and some 80s placed as well.
Yeah. So that means that sometimes for the finalists, we'll have 13, 14, 15 images in a category. And what that means, equal scoring 10th, because that was a question that came up a lot last year as well, was, let's say the top 9 scores were 83 and up, but then 82s, we had 5 images that scored an 82. We didn't go by the decimal point calculation. All of the 82s made it in as finals. So in that category, we would have had, 15 images that were considered for first, second, and third place. And so, as Jerry said, hopefully we will be able to do that again. It really depends on how much time we get, how long we have the room and everything. We have to do the logistics of it.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well last year. It was fun.
No, it's fantastic. So when you go here, you've got grand awards. You can go by category and scroll down. You can specifically go to a category. Okay, so like wedding party and family and friends, for example, and you get to see not only the first, second, third place, not only the finalists, but also everyone else in that particular category. So this will remain in perpetuity for your inspiration and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that is that. Now, let's show you how easy the process is of actually entering an image. I'm going to be honest with you, I would be very, very intimidated no matter where I would enter, because your images are like your babies, and then you're like, oh no, I want to have a chance, and I want to get in the mix, and then you freak out. You read the rules. Is this? There's a bit of a gray area. All you got to do is read. Okay, what a concept! But even, let's say, if your images have been created by you of a particular genre within our ecosystem, which is pretty much everything.
Well, let's show them.
Yeah, all you got to do is you log in. So this is an example of my dashboard. I can't enter, obviously, but let's say if I could enter, I'm going to press enter now. It basically reminds you that your image on the longest length should be 3000 pixels by 300 PPI or DPI, pixels per inch. Why do we need a good high res? Because we want to use those images to print them in the book, okay, rather than it just being a 72 PPI one. You upload your entry. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to drop an image that's 3000 pixels. Okay, I press continue. And this is to protect you and the integrity of the entire competition, where we basically get you to acknowledge that your entry was not created by AI exclusively or includes stock art. Why do I say exclusively? Is because you may have used AI for corrective purposes, not to introduce an element that you didn't create. So let's say you click on that. That's your signature saying, I'm going by the rules here. Help me choose. Okay. So let's pick something. So straight away, it gives you, my photo was using a single photo with post-production and used to beautify, correct, or finesse. A single photo with post-production that changes the reality of the image, such as digital painting, extending and or mirroring a background or multiplying objects. You're changing the reality. Or multiple photographs, or no post-processing, I want to enter the raw division. Now, let's say, for example, I click on this one. A single photo with no post-production. What best describes your
No, it
entry?
has post-production.
Post-production?
I want to
Sorry.
clarify that.
Yeah.
Some people think that in certain divisions you can have no post-production. That is not the case.
Apart from raw, the in-camera.
You can work your images. It's just how much you work them. Remember, the creative category gives you carte blanche pretty much. You can do so much creative stuff.
Yeah.
The wedding and the portrait and the pre-wedding divisions, you're a little bit more limited, but not that limited. Like the stuff that you would do to deliver your work to your clients is all allowed.
Yeah.
So a single photo with post-production that was used to beautify, correct, or finesse an image. So you didn't do a crazy composite, for example, which is what we're seeing here. This is a reflection image that Jerry just uploaded, done with a mirror. This was what it looked like. So that's what he's selected.
And also to be more specific, can you retouch skin? Can you nip and tuck? Can you skew the image in correct perspective? Can you crop? Can you tone? Can you dodge and burn? Can you use cloning or things like that? Sure,
Yes.
as long as you're not changing the reality of it. The minute you're making it a fantastical image or grabbing a veil that was 2 meters and making it 5 meters, or whatever that is in feet, things like that, then again, if you simply answer these questions truthfully, and I'm going to say truthfully, just pay attention to them, it'll guide you. Then you basically say, all right, it's a single photograph, and this was of a portrait of a person or people or group or whatever. So, you know what? That is a portrait of an individual.
In non-wedding clothes. So it asks, is it a bride? Are they in wedding clothes? This is a portrait of a person in non-wedding clothes. All right, that's mine. So there's an answer for everything. And remember, you won't have to answer more than 3 or 4 questions.
Yep.
So Jerry's now just answered that. Here's the next list of.
So we go down here and I'm looking at an individual or couple that is nude, semi-nude, implied wearing clothes, a single subject is 20. So theoretically, this could be 2 things. A single subject that is 20 years old, and she is. But what we're trying to determine here is is this showing about who the person is, or is this fashion, clothes, hair and makeup and accessories are the main focus of the image? So I'm not trying to tell you who Rainey, a friend of ours here, who this person is. I'm trying to basically celebrate the beauty of her hair and her makeup and her clothes. So if I feel that fashion is the way to go, boom, I'm going to click on that. So based upon your answers, you'll be entering the following category. Done. I have tried to break this. It has never been broken, and I'm very proud of that. But let's say you find a black hole and you're like, you know what? I think it's just a portrait of an individual. I think this says more than just about the beauty of the subject. Click on this and then say, okay, it's a portrait of an individual. If let's say she was wearing lingerie and you're like, you know what? It is actually an individual that is nude, semi-nude or implied nude or wearing lingerie. You click on that and it'll give you that particular thing. So don't have to make sure, of course, you read the rules, but you don't have to overly think about where they're going to go.
So that was like to answer Adrian's question. This is what I was talking to you about, where it will guide you every step of the way. It'll ask you all those questions. So you don't even have to try to figure out ahead of time what category it's going to be in, because it'll pick it for you.
So once you're happy with that, now you might say, well, I changed my mind. I want something else. You replace it. But let's say we press continue. Then you add a raw file. Now, this is a different raw file. It doesn't matter. I just picked anything that I shot recently. So you'll upload the raw file. If you don't have the raw file, an unprocessed JPEG. If you don't have an unprocessed JPEG, I'm sorry, you can't enter. I love you, but we need to protect the integrity of the competition. We want to make sure everyone is on a fair and level playing field as we discussed. So we go there, but preferably the raw file. We press continue. This is where you can remind yourself. Certainly this implies that you've already read the rules and you understand them, but you can click on view rules, which will take you to the website, or you can download a PDF. Once you agree to it, okay, then it'll ask you, do you want to add a critique or not? We would rather make less money from you and have more people to learn from you. A public critique means that you'll be in the public gallery. Your name will not be attached to the image. It'll be anonymous. If you want the critique for your eyes only, you only spend $5 more and it's a private critique. And I've got to be honest, I think 98%-ish of people who got critiques, it was all public. And we thank you for that, because you're going to be in a gallery forever, people to learn from. Let's say you've done public critique, you press continue. Now it's in your cart. So there it is. Now, this is not an eligible entry until you purchase it. Now, you can go through this process a day apart, a week apart, doesn't really matter. By the end of this month, take advantage of the fact that it's an early bird submission. So you'll save $10 per entry. You've basically got to purchase your images by the end of this month, or let's just say the 1st of October.
Yeah, you have to go through
September.
You have to go through the whole process. Otherwise, the images that are in your cart will also change price after the early bird thing if you haven't finished the purchase. So that's the caveat. We have no way of preserving that. So you've got to make sure you make your purchases before the price goes up.
And that's where you'll see, if you see it here and it says in cart, it's not eligible, like it's not ready to go. It would basically say submitted or paid or something like that. I think pending means that you've uploaded it, but you haven't quite put it in the cart yet or something like that. Also, by the way, guys, that you can download your accreditation certificates and emblems as well. And then if you get awarded, you'll also have everything in your dashboard as well. So that's a really cool thing.
Heidi's asked a really good question. If you are entering an image, especially like in the creative division where you have multiple raw files, let's say you've got a composite. And so of course you have multiple raw files because it was multiple images. Does this system allow you to upload multiple raw files? Yes. And that's a new thing. It allowed it last year, but before with WPPI, you couldn't. You could only upload one raw file. Then I would have to come to you and ask you for the other ones. The good thing is that now you can upload all of them. So we had one entrant last year who had like 50 and it took them. So yes, you can definitely upload multiple raw files, which is great. That way you can get it all done and not have to worry about it.
So I believe that's it, guys. This is the first of what we are.
Actually, sorry, another question. Keith, that's a really good question. And this has come up this year as well. Can you purchase images without uploading because you want to get the early bird price and but you don't have the image ready? This came up because somebody has a wedding later in September and they have high hopes for this wedding, knowing that this will probably have some award potential, but the wedding hasn't even been shot yet. So look, the whole point of this is that you're not uploading your entry at the very last second. So I'm not trying to do everyone's entries the last final week. But that being said, I totally understand where you're coming from as well. Here's something that you can do. And Dory, this is why we were talking about you earlier today. If you have something that you're not quite ready to upload, but you're ready to go through it, here's what you can do. You can do a little placeholder image. That way I know that that is not the image that I'm looking at. I'm not going to vet it, but you know that you have to replace that image when it's ready. And I won't share it, but Dory, that made us laugh so hard today when we saw it. We heart you. That was Dory's basically done that for an image that he entered. He has a little placeholder in there that just made us smile and reaffirmed why I think you're one of the coolest guys. But Keith, that's what I would recommend. If you're not quite ready, put a little placeholder image, indicate that it's a placeholder image so I'm not downloading it and trying to figure out what's happening. But yeah, that's what you can do in the worst case scenario. Otherwise, try to get your image up there so that it spreads it out all evenly for us. But yeah, that's one way of doing it.
Absolutely. And so next week, what we're going to do is we're going to take a deeper dive into the rules. So now that we've sort of done a bit of an overview, we've given you sort of a bit of a broad brushstroke on a bit of everything. We're going to go through the rules specifically. So if you're like freaking out about, well, like there's a bit of gray area, of course, we cannot cover every single nuance. It's almost impossible. If there's something very specific, please reach out to Melissa. Go onto the Icon Awards and bottom right in the chat box and ask. And obviously you can screen grab something and ask questions. But if you want to understand the rules more specifically, or you're new to the Icon Awards and want to understand how we get to things, and you can even ask why, like I know Bill Stank recently went on our website and said, hey, ask a specific question based upon a requirement of a particular category. We'll be very transparent. You might say, well, why does this rule exist? We'll tell you.
Yeah, so don't be shy. Please reach out to us. And let me help you. Like, that's what I'm here for. So I can help answer any questions. Don't ever feel bad about answering questions. I'd rather you guys ask questions so that we can answer, like what Bill did. And, the questions just come up. Can we change the category? Like, for example, if you change your mind, you wanted to upload a different image, or you aren't sure and you end up uploading that image and it's in the wrong category. Yes, I can do all of that. So for sure, we can change categories. I can help you do that. Don't be shy. If you don't understand something or don't know how something works, ask. We are literally an open book. When we started the Icon Awards, we said we want to be transparent. There's no need to not be transparent. This is the process. For the first time this year during the live judging, you guys got to watch the judges choose first, second, and third place. We did that on purpose because that was always behind closed doors before, and we just didn't know why.
Yeah, we thought why. Yeah.
So now, so don't be shy, is what I'm saying. We are here for you guys. We're here to help you. Jerry can't enter the competition. I am here to help all the logistics. So we're here for you guys so that you can get the most out of it. Use us. So don't be afraid to reach out and let us help you.
Maybe just as a bit of a reminder, we should just remind people of the dates.
Yes. And as you do that, Heidi's also asked a good question. These are great questions. Now they're coming in, guys.
now we're about to leave. It's like
Heidi's asked if titles for images are required for the live judging if you reach the top 10. You can enter them, they're not required. So it's totally up to you. If you want to enter them, we'll read them out to the judges when they're looking at your image. I'd say the majority of people last year did not have titles, but we had some. So it's totally up to you. I'll give you that option when it's time to enter your finalist image, and then you can decide then. It's totally up to you.
So if you want to mark your calendars, guys, if you want an incredible experience, and I remember Gary Hughes saying this a couple of years ago, which I really identified with. He talked about the tribal learning. We can all learn online from each other like this, so we can all connect on social media, but to physically be able to speak with your fellow photographers and people who are in a similar genre, meet some of your heroes and things like that, I'm telling you, it is invaluable to be able to go to WPPI. What I love about WPPI and the way they've expanded is there are so many offerings that you can choose. You can have a lighting track, you can have a wedding track, you can come to the competition if you're obsessed with this ecosystem. There's all these incredible offerings happening. And also, by the way, some of you have expressed concerns about the Rio hotel.
Oh yeah.
And it's really weird. It's like everyone's freaking out, like, oh, it's unsafe, or it's off the strip, it's this, that, whatever. And I'm like, fair enough. And we live in Vegas, so we're like,
let's go check it out.
Let's go check it. We stayed there one night.
It was Jerry's birthday. We were celebrating his birthday. We decided it's an amazing steakhouse that gets great reviews. Yeah. So we were like, we'll go there for dinner and then we'll just stay overnight.
So to the beach club, the rooms were like
massive.
Suite.
They were clean. I'm very particular about that. They were super clean. They're remodeled. So as locals, we already knew they've been spending the last 2 years remodeling it, and they're in the middle of this project. And so it's brand new in so many spots. And yeah, the beach club was really fun too. I don't think you'll get time to hang out at the beach club during WPPI, but yeah. It was fun, and the restaurants were fun. They were good. That steakhouse was great, and the rooms were amazing. Not that we spend that much time in rooms either, but
they're comfortable and massive.
And they were massive. It was like a suite for sure. But anyways, it was great.
It's off the strip. But guys, how many of you actually go to WPPI, walk out of the hotel, and then walk on the other side of the strip to go to a restaurant? You're probably spending 99% of your time at the hotel. The fact that you'll still catch an Uber ride, and it's literally like a $10 Uber ride pretty much to most places on the strip from the Rio, and you probably won't leave there anyway. So we've actually recorded a bit of video of our experience where we're going to put that together. We're going to put that together very, very soon and share it with you unbiasedly, because we wanted to make sure our baby Icon Awards has a great home, and WPPI has moved to the Rio, at least in the foreseeable future, and we're excited about it. And yeah, the location's great. So we're looking forward to that. If you want the best experience in Vegas, including WPPI, the educational offerings, the conference, the exhibition, the trade show, if you want the best experience, this is my advice to you. You fly into Vegas on March 15, that's 2025, so March 15. Then you'll wake up to 2 days of the judging experience of the finals. You may just watch your categories only and go see some other things happening during those 2 days, because there's a plethora of different things to see. Then,
Plethora.
did you like that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm an intelligent man when I try to be. 18th, 19th, and 20th is the actual trade show. The awards night is on the 18th. And then if you want the full experience, you check out on the 21st. So fly in, check in on the 15th, check out on the 21st. If you have to get back to a wedding that you're shooting on a Friday or anything like that, the worst case scenario, go on the Thursday, but have the full experience, check in the 15th, check in the 21st, and hopefully we'll see you in person. It is a convention that attracts the international audience more than any other in our industry. Would you agree?
I would say so, yeah.
I mean, there's many.
I don't have the numbers, but I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, there's many national conventions, but this one attracts the more international members of anything on earth. So if you want that inspiration like we have, come down, have some fun, and it'll be great. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. And we'll see you next week. Well, next week, as Jerry said, we'll focus a bit more on the rules and categories and stuff like that, but always available to answer your questions. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.